Hi, I'm Kevin Drinkall.
Hi, and I'm Michel Nicolai, and we welcome you to Zyzone Networks podcast.
We've been in the network industry for over 15 years, and in these podcasts we want to try and untangle the world of networking, debunk some of those myths, explain some real-world examples along the way, to help you make better choices about selecting the right tech, product, and even help you guys build faster, more reliable, scalable networks, or just to keep your kids happy at home.
Well, welcome back to another podcast, and today we're going to talk about connectivity in those small installations like coffee shops, retail shops, and even those little pop-up shops that we get in the seasonal periods of the year as well. So quite an interesting topic because these can be quite challenging.
Yeah, we get many questions from customers and from resellers to help them to select the right product to make this scenario happening in their application that they need. For instance, you name already the temporary stores, the pop-up stores that they cannot get a proper internet connection or not instantly, because if you apply for internet connection, it takes ages before you get it. So you need something instantly. So mobile connectivity is the key product for you. You just buy a SIM card, you put it in, and the connectivity is there. So this is an ideal solution if you want to do a pop-up shop with any kind of network connectivity for your payment system or any other connectivity you need to the internet.
So when you're looking at these, I mean, they're quite small amounts of data if it's just the transaction data. Or so we could maybe start off with one of our, I would say, is a 4G router. So
4G is enough. It's fast enough as well.
So we have an LTE 3301 Plus, which is
it works.
A good entry point for anybody trying to think about where they're going to do. You've got a little hub or switch on the back. You have Wi-Fi on board, and you have 4G, which is, I think, roughly 300 megabits per second it does on this product.
Yeah,
right?
but it's for an electronic financial transaction, it's fast enough. And on the product, we do even WAN failover. So if you do have a connection with your operator, you can put it in, and then the device automatically switch to your to the link that is available. So it's great to do the business like this.
And obviously, if you have got 5G and you need the speed and maybe even want to share it out with a handful of devices, you can scale up. We have the FWA 505, which is a new product. This is a pretty good, got Wi-Fi, 4G and 5G. So you put a SIM card in it.
LAN ports in there, so you can connect your laptop or additional switch to get more connectivity. And you get a higher speed, of course.
So obviously they've got some, pretty high spec speeds in the standard, but depending on your connectivity that's provided by the ISP, then you can potentially reach 1 gig in connectivity, right? Or I mean, the device is able to do 5 gig, but I mean, I've never seen that in the real world. So,
and the good thing is, all those devices can also be managed remotely, so you can also bring this solution as a reseller, as a solution that you can rent out for a small period of time. So if you have an event that's only lasts for a day or maybe 2 weeks, then you can rent out this solution to this person, and he can sell out his stuff that he wants to sell at that moment. So also that is an opportunity with those products.
I mean, I remember I've seen a few times where I've seen, the card machines not operate properly. Even a coffee shop once, right? They just couldn't take any payment. So, I mean, I don't even carry, I don't carry any cash.
Cash is not a popular thing anymore. Yeah, everyone is more or less paying electronically nowadays.
And you went to a show as well, right? One of these, an air show, etc. And if you're buying something there, the reception, etc. When you use one of our devices, it's much better signal than you would get with a phone, for example, right? So if you have a couple of stands or etc. and you want to share it between the machines, it could be a good option as well, right? So I think when we're talking about these pop-up stands or this temporary approach, we have these kind of 5G and 4G products that really suit that market quite well.
Yeah, and then it's already close to, let's say, a coffee shop maybe.
Yeah.
It is more permanent, of course. Yeah, it is not a pop-up shop. Hopefully, you're the one who's selling the coffee will stay there for a longer period of time than just a few days. So then, also for those kind of businesses, it is a really good solution to have these kind of products.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned coffee shop there, right? So when we move into a coffee shop, there's other things to try to consider. Obviously, you'll have a point of sale system, right? We nickname it POS, right? It's just short for point of sale. But this just is the credit card machines, the machines that keep basically the business ticking over with the kind of transactions. And I think it's easily forgotten that this is basically how you make the money, right? Or you take the money from, for coffee or whatever it could be a retail chain as well, right? So it's important to protect that connectivity so that you can continue business. And when you're looking at that, you might want to start moving into the building, right? So we move away from the temporary 4G, 5G. 5G and 4G, by the way, can be a good option for these types of locations as well. But we might want to add more and more products into there. So we might want to use a switch, a wireless access point, and also maybe something with a bit more power or security as well we might want to think about. So
I think it depends a little bit on what kind of services that you want to offer. If you have a standard coffee shop and then you want to add any value, then probably, you don't need it. But if you want to distinguish yourself as with good service, then maybe you want to offer some Wi-Fi connectivity to your customers that they can stay around and drink their coffee and maybe do some email or whatever. Yeah? And then an extra access point that you open up your network for your guests as well will be a nice opportunity, of course. And with that access point, you might be able to use a switch as well, to power it, or to maybe have multiple APs as well, depending on the size of your coffee shop.
So I think if you're just talking about, let's just talk about from the very beginning bit, right? So if you want an all-in-one device to basically do a very small coffee shop, right? You could consider something like there's a new USG Lite 60AX, which is coming, and when this is released, this will give a entry level of security to the networks for protection for you and the guests. And also, it's got Wi-Fi on board, and it's actually a router stroke firewall altogether. And it comes with our Nebula, whole management of Nebula, so it's very easy to deploy, etc. So I think this is quite a good start point for this type of business, and it's got fast throughput as well for those higher speed internet connectivity that might be available. Obviously that's something to consider, right?
But you mentioned security. What kind of security would provide to the customer?
So I wouldn't say it's a replacement for a full cybersecurity or a firewall that we have in our range as well. But it creates or has, first of all, it has a free tier of security. So, higher protection than a normal type of firewall. So firewall, as we discussed in one of our other podcasts, drop, allow, and block, right?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah.
So if you've got an ISP one, that's all it does, right?
Yeah, but many times I see in a coffee shop, they just get the consumer modem without any kind of security on there and then do a secure business behind it. I don't think that is the way to operate your business. So in that case, if you're going for a USG Lite 60AX, where you get already some essential or basic security in there that does a little bit more than just blocking some traffic, I think it is much more secure to operate your business.
I mean, the idea of the USG Lite 60AX is that it has a ransomware protection, for example, which for small businesses can be absolutely devastating. So the idea is that the basic layer of functionality is to at least help or try to mitigate these types of attacks that happen to these small businesses. And let's be honest, if they get anything on those machines, it's pretty devastating, right? So the product itself is very, very good. If you need a lower throughput version. Also the SCR50AX, which is a secure cloud router, which doesn't have the same throughput, but it's a lower budget
functionality on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a start point. Obviously, then you could scale up much bigger. Then, if you're looking at Wi-Fi, we can also apply security at the Wi-Fi access point. So,
yeah, I think if you're taking your guest seriously, then I think you should help him a little bit. The solution that we have, especially for these kinds of scenarios in a coffee shop, that we can add another access point on the network. For instance, NWA 110, for instance, and we put a CNP license on it. CNP, it stands for Connect and Protect. What does it do? It does two things. One, it has a reputation filter on it. So that means if you as a guest are logging on the internet and you are browsing the internet, then you are being alerted if you're trying to enter any kind of malicious website. But we don't block you, we just warn you. And it's up to the user to say, okay, I got the message, I get the warning, but I still want to watch it. Then we allow it. Yeah, we're not blocking it. We keep the guest that is using the Wi-Fi, he takes the ownership. So he gets the warning and he can reject and then go for another website, or he can make up his own mind and say, okay, I will do it, my risk, and I visit it. So that is one part of it. But another part of it is that we also have some kind of application control or application bandwidth management in there. And that could also help a lot, and especially for the coffee shop owner, that he maybe does not want to support that all his guests are downloading the latest operating system updates and downloading 1 or 2 gigs on his internet line and occupies the whole line. So with this kind of software, the Connect and Protect that you install on your access point, you can say that people that are connecting to Windows Update or to Apple Update server, that the bandwidth is limited or even narrowed down to 0, so that people only use the Wi-Fi for what's intended for. So to get your email, to search something on the internet, but not to update with large files to your computer or to your mobile device. So that helps a lot to manage your network and to make sure that all your guests have a proper internet connection.
So when we're talking about access points, our range is massive, right, of access points. So it makes it very difficult to choose for a customer if they're not sure about which access point should be for what. So I think, for me, as a starting point in this type of environment, very small business or small retail or even small coffee shop, an independent one, where you need maybe 1 or 2 access points for they're normally quite low density. And when we talk about densities, connected users, right? We could start with something like the NWA 90AX Pro. This one is a good one. And the reason why I would pick that one, we have another model below it, is because this one is the one that starts with Captive Portal.
Yeah.
So you can have, a variety of different access. So you can have Captive Portal, you can have click to continue, which is this, I agree to the terms and conditions and cover yourself, for internet connectivity.
Yeah, maybe we should explain a little bit more, because our listeners maybe doesn't know exactly what Captive Portal means.
Oh, yes.
Because maybe you should explain a little bit what it does.
So when you log on to the internet in a coffee shop or indeed at a lot of these public places, you often get a window coming up to ask you to either put a passcode in, sign on,
some credentials,
or some make you fill out username and password or even register. And there are some that just have a click to continue, which is like a little portal. So a lot of hotels do this as well. The Captive Portal is a onboarding process of the Wi-Fi. So you don't just connect from the street. You actually have to be in there, and you can then either put a code in, you can use the click to continue function, and you can design the screen a little bit around.
Yeah, most of the time it's advertising, that if you log on, that you have your logo in there, maybe your opening times of your coffee shop or any other shop that you are running, and give some information on the landing page that you are moving on, and then maybe some T's and C's, that maybe you should restrict to what you are trying to search on the internet a little bit. And then if you apply and say, okay, I agree, then we give access to this user. This is a typical function that can be given on the captive portal.
It also stops people from asking you for the username and password all the time, for the passcode all the time.
For sure, 100%.
The amount of times that people get money, what's the Wi-Fi password?
What's the password?
And they're looking around, they're having to write it on a piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so the 90AX Pro is the kind of starting point where you can do this captive portal. If you want to start to add that extra layer of security that Michel talked about.
Yeah, the CNP, it doesn't fit for the 90AX Pro. Yeah, the chip is not powerful to run those sophisticated security applications. So you need a little bit more power and on the CPU, on the device. So if you want to do this, then you need to scale up to the model I mentioned before, the NWA 110.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and if you're considering, you need a switch to power it. So, for example, if you're using Wi-Fi and you need to get power to the device and you want to put it on the ceiling, the easiest way to do that is to use PoE, which is basically power over Ethernet, which allows you to run a Cat5 or Cat6 network cable to the access point and then plug it into the switch, which will actually power the device and carry the data at the same time.
Yeah, and then don't need a power adapter anymore. And so there's much more convenient to where you want to place your access point.
So, I mean, that's the actual hardware itself, right? But what about configuring it, and what about the ease of use, and how do we get that? I mean, it doesn't want to be complicated, right? It needs to be simple.
Yeah, and I think simple, then you also name Nebula. Yeah, because Nebula is our easy configuration tool, and then you can configure your access points on that, but also your switches. Yeah, you just mentioned that you want to PoE your APs. Then the 1915 series will be really the series to go for to put that in your network and to power your access points.
So you can use the app, can go through the wizard to set up the switch, the access point. And if you're using the mentioned security device, the USG Lite 60AX, you can also configure this as well and also monitor the protection and everything all in one place under the one app. And then also you can bandwidth manage by device, the connected devices as well from the same place as well. So another great feature which might be of interest is the auto guest protection as well, because this feature allows you to, if you're still using the ISP's router, it doesn't support VLANing, where you can segregate the network into two so that you can keep your POS system, your point of sale system away from your guest network.
Because you don't want to have your guests looking around to your credit card machine and to see if they can log on or everything. Yeah, so you really want to close it off.
And that's the problem when you start looking at using these consumer routers to do the same job, right? So the ISP often provides a router to terminate its internet connectivity. It's normally okay for a small connectivity, but the problem is when you want to start adding guests to it, you need to start segregating the network. And with the Nebula devices, the wireless access point, for example, you can tick a box to say, I want to have auto guest protection, and it will actually deliberately split the same network so they can't see each other, right? Under the hood, it's something called layer 2 isolation, but it's like automatic to really make it much easier and much simpler to deploy.
Yeah, so in practice is that the person that's connecting to the network, the only thing that is visible for this client is the internet. All other devices that might be in the network are not available to him. Yeah. So the only way out is the connectivity to the internet. So that's a very safe way of providing this kind of connectivity to the internet to your guests.
So, I mean, it can be challenging, but at the same time, it is fairly simple when you apply Nebula to this scenario.
Yes, something that I could think of is we already mentioned coffee shops. Yeah, maybe we should extend it a little bit in coffee shop chain, maybe, and then maybe your shop needs to be connected to headquarters, or the manager of the shop likes to check in and see how things are running on his shop. So probably then a VPN connection, so that you have a secure connection to your network from the manager to the shop, but also maybe from the shop to headquarters.
So I think from an entry point of view, you look at the USG Lite 60AX. It has that.
Has both functionality.
Has both functionality for security and the VPN, and you have the management from Nebula. If you want to start scaling up and to standardize into our security or cybersecurity range, then you start to move into our USG Flex range, right?
So, yeah, and that gives much more functionality, more security as well, and also it's more feature rich for VPN connectivity as well.
But when you use it under Nebula, we can also simplify this type of connectivity. And if you're using your chains, so let's say, for example, you are one of 10 stores and you want them all to dial back. If you're using Nebula, actually, you can go, I want this store to join the head office, and then it basically joins together, right?
Yeah, it's really a 2-minute job, yeah. It's so easy, yeah? Because everything is known to our Nebula system. All the networks are known. So you just say this network from headquarters that I make available for VPN. Then I'll go to the branch office where I have my separate network. I'll do the checkbox that I want to have this network to be connected. And then I say, link. That's it. It's really a 2-minute job.
Yeah, I mean, this used to take forever to deploy in the past, right?
And this is just a site-to-site VPN with 2 devices. But yeah, you can think of that maybe the chain is more than one shop and a headquarter, yeah? That you have more branch shops or coffee shops available, and that needs to be connected as well, yeah? So then it is so easy to make this connection available.
So, I mean, as you scale out, if you were to try and look at this as well, right, the idea is that, you install a small coffee shop, very easy, in terms of you need maybe 2-3 devices, or you can use an all-in-one device, which is like the SCR50 or the USG Lite 60AX, which is coming, right? These 2 devices are an all-in-one device, and let's say you need to expand the Wi-Fi. You can use mesh from the USG Lite 60AX to expand the Wi-Fi, and you can apply them security functionalities. And if you're slightly bigger, you might want to use a switch and APs and the gateway, and then repeating the job over and over again. If it's the same chain and you're doing this 10 stores and they're all the same, you can just copy them in Nebula, so they're exactly the same layout.
Yeah, because every branch of it is more or less the same, yeah? The connectivity is the same, the applications that you're running is the same. So, yeah, if you're just running out another coffee shop, you just replicate and you're done.
Yeah, so you can literally clone the site and add the products and deploy again, right? Or you can create a template to redo the same things over and over again, making the repeat of the job extremely quick. And then you've got 10 sites connected with all the same functions and features. You can even create a template in Nebula itself to deploy, right? So whether it's an independent or small retail chain or coffee shop, or you are deploying many coffee shops or retail chains, or then you have this functionality to do the same as well. And let's not forget, we can always add 5G or 4G to any of those as failover.
Of course. Yeah, there's always an option. Yeah. So make sure that the connectivity is there, because we need internet 24 hours nowadays.
So I think that's quite a lot of information just to, bear in mind for this kind of smaller installation. When we say small, it's still important, right? It still needs to be right, still needs to be connected correctly. So, we've done our fair share of these types of installs ourselves. So we're just sharing a little bit of information about how we would do it now with the kit that we have in the portfolio, and, talking around those elements as well. So I hope that's, been useful to you guys out there, and, stay tuned.
And see you next time at our next podcast.
Thank you very much.